hosted by IEEE Cyprus. We are very pleased to see that it has begun to meet a critical mass of engineers in Cyprus. I would like to thank you all for your participation tonight. You give us strength to continue doing what we do. IEEE stands for Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. It's the largest professional association in the world. It has more than 425,000 members in more than 160 countries. The world is divided into 10 regions, and Cyprus belongs to Region 8, the largest region in IEEE. Also, it's a great honor for us to have a Cypriot elected as a director of IEEE Region 8. Mr. Stasopoulos is representing more than 70,000 engineers in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Tonight's event is dedicated to entrepreneurship. We will see how a dream became an international and globally operating company. I would like to thank Dr. Kassianides for accepting our invitation and being tonight with us. Now, Konstantinos Mihail will represent our speaker.
So thank you, Pavlos. Dr. Symeon Kassianides is the founder, chief executive officer, and chairman of the Hyperion Systems Engineering Group. He holds a PhD and DIC in chemical engineering from Imperial College of Science, Technology and Medicine in the UK, and a BNc in chemical engineering from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in USA. He has over 20 years of experience in project execution and management of technology in the process and manufacturing industries. Throughout his career, Dr. Kassianides has served as director of the governance boards of several private companies and public organizations, including the Cyprus Stock Exchange, as well as the University of Cyprus and the Cyprus Employers and Industrialists Federation. So thank you for accepting our invitation.
Okay, thank you. So I'll start by saying that thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here, and I think it's at a timely period for Cyprus. So we are going to see a few ideas, a little bit of history, a little bit of today, some ideas about the future, and what I think everybody in this room and in your environment should be thinking about doing in order to help the situation as it is today. So we're talking about startups in Cyprus, road to success, Hyperion experience. So, and basically it's under the framework of entrepreneurship. So what is entrepreneurship? So what we have is entrepreneurship is the act and art of being an entrepreneur or one who undertakes innovations or introducing new things, finance and business acumen in an effort to transform innovations into economic goods. In simple words, is coming up with new ideas, innovations, and putting those into action. To make it a little bit more interesting and enticing, entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life like most people won't, so that you can spend the rest of your life like most people can't. So, is it worth it? Well, I think absolutely. The rewards are there. So, everyone is talking here about the crisis in Cyprus. I get asked every day by many people, professional people, younger people, everybody, about the crisis. There's only one simple fact, is we need to keep calm, carry on, and things will develop. And as we were discussing before, of course, what we want is some stability. And in these challenging times, we need to think outside the box. What we knew up to today is not valid anymore. So you had the banks, you had the government, they provided security, average was good enough, average is not good enough anymore. You need to do something different, you need to be better, you need to do, the whole society, we need to do something different. So in order to do that, it's not just about ideas, it's about making those ideas happening. So we need to take some action. Thinking outside of the box, coming up with ideas and making them happen. Coming to Hyperion. So how did it all start? It started with an idea. So The idea was a commercial offering that was after my PhD research at Imperial College that was mentioned before. I came up with a solution formulation of a software, let's call it a software product that could be applied to industry. And I got interested for different reasons and saw the opportunity. At the time, the interesting little trivia here is at the time they were thinking in Cyprus to start venture capital. This is a long time ago, it's 91, right? So even before, so 90. So around 90, there was a program from the European Investment Bank that was going to deliver funds to Cyprus to be managed by the Cypriot banks to start equity investments of new ventures, right? So I was asked by a bank, because I was at Imperial, to help do some sort of a study about venture capital because they didn't know. And I did that. I did a proposition. And I found out about this amazing concept of being able to raise funding to do your own thing. So at the same time, I had commercial interest from two companies, one in the United States, one in the UK, to commercialize my research. So what was the opportunity? The opportunity was to join one of the competing companies and develop the commercial offering, right? So it would have been a more safe thing to do and get a salary and all these different things. Develop the technology in conjunction with the university. I had an offer from Imperial College to stay and do that as part of being academic. Play with this new idea that I found of venture capital and seek venture capital to try and do it. And all that made sense. What didn't really make sense was set up the operation in Cyprus. So that was the adventure part in the whole exercise. So this is back in 1991. Venture capital was available, as I mentioned, through the commercial banks, supported by the European Investment Bank, and at the time it turned out that it became managed by the Cyprus Development Bank. There was financing options through loans. The other banks were saying, sure, we'll give loans to start businesses and so forth. There was encouragement for repatriation of skilled labor, and the concept of Cyprus as the new Singapore. It was being promoted, come back, we'll do the new Singapore, and this whole new ideas. And we believed our own PR about the abundance of skilled labor, right? Lots of skilled labor. What was the harsh reality in 1991? Cyprus venture capitalists were unable to take a position in advanced technology ventures. This is a quote. If you wanted us to give you money to make pencils, then we could probably discuss it. I know what pencils are, what they do, how they're made, and who buys them. What are you talking about? It's software and so forth. Financing, yes, it was financing available on the basis of guarantees that if you can prove you do not need the money, then we may consider giving it to you. Right? So, government support and infrastructure was not available to support advanced technology startups. I mean, Cyprus is not for this stuff. And shortage, really, of skilled labor for the private sector, let alone small startup companies. Yeah, there was abundance for the banks, abundance for the government, but not for startups. So what was the challenge? It was convincing Cyprus venture capital to take a risk in an area they did not understand and therefore could not evaluate, almost like going to the moon. So, what makes it happen? Two main things, persistence and perseverance. So, strength, looking at this, the river cuts through a rock not because of its power, but its persistence. It's the firm or obstinate continuance in a course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition. Perseverance. If at first you don't succeed, try and try again. Perseverance is the hard work you do after you get tired of doing the hard work you already did. and I will persist until I succeed. It's possible, but you need to be dedicated and you need to be willing to actually go for the dream and do it. So, 2 years later, in December '93, so it took almost, let's say, 18 months to convince things. So I had convinced the American company to join in the venture and help develop and promote the technology. We had formulated an extensive business plan. Many people try to do businesses and start ideas without actually doing a business plan, thinking that everything is going to come out and happen. But you know, if you do a laboratory experiment, you need to plan what you're going to do. If you do financials, you need to plan how you're going to spend your money. So you need a business plan. Selected and engaged reputable associates for financial, accounting, and legal support. You need mentors. When you start out, you don't know. There's so many things you don't know. 20 years later, today, there's so many things we still don't know. And when I say we still don't know, I don't just talk about me, but I'm talking about the rest of the group in Hyperion. We every day meet people, and people are willing to act as mentors. I mean, mentors that started helped me in '93 are still engaged in some sort of way within the company, helping and providing advice. Identified a visionary end-user company and formulated a prototype on a first project. So, proof of concept, basically. So you have your design, you have your business plan, you find your first application, you have proof of concept, you have a customer, you have a reference, it works. Spent, I said, 18 months educating the financial community. Banks, venture capital, what it is, who might use it, why it might use it, what's the risks, and so forth. Addressed every question and overcame every obstacle. I used to work as a consultant abroad, and I used to come every, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks to meet the new challenges, new questions in order to secure the funding. Persistence and perseverance, enthusiasm, it will always work. If you're talking about an idea, you have to be excited about the idea. If you're not excited about the idea, about what you want to do, believe me, no one will be excited or no one will be interested. So you have to be enthusiastic, persist and persevere, and be willing to have sacrifice. What was the sacrifice in this case? Let's say for 18 months trying to set up the company and not taking a job with a United States company on a good salary, fat bonuses, and so forth, with the hope that something would happen. So, of course, this is the most important one, because when you start and you do the business plan and you say, I need funding and I need, let's say, millions of dollars in order to be able to start this job and so forth, and then you find out that there's maybe 300,000 or there's 400,000. Then you either decide, well, it's not good enough, so I stay home or I go and do something else, which means you were not enthusiastic to begin with and you were not willing to go the whole length, or you take what's given to you and try to see for the next day. You adapt as you go along. Adaptability is very important in this whole process. So I compromised on the funding requirements, secured the venture capital, and the company was formed. So, all this comes down to no guts, no glory. If you're not willing to go the length, you better not start it, because it just will be disappointing and it's not going to lead anywhere. And as the dragon is cute, it could be not a bad exercise to do, not a bad journey anyway. So, first years, I said, we started as a product development company. Of course, we had an end user who was going to be our reference. It was Mitsubishi Chemicals in Japan. And their needs were defining a lot of the development scope and the development specifications. Then because of the US partner who also provided some of the funding together with the VCs, they had an influence in how, what tools to use, what not, and so forth. We had a completion and deployment of the first commercial version of the software, participated in business development activities, but not directly in the sales cycle. So actually, as part of the relationship with the American company, we had given the rights for sales to them. We had slow growth of revenues, human resources, and capabilities, and remained with the non-existent local support and non-existent local opportunities. We were actually operating in an environment that there was no market for us. So we couldn't, at the time there was only the Cyprus refinery, and that's a different lecture. So, reinvention. We continued with an organization or a company. This is another thing which is very important, agility and the ability to reinvent yourself. You start, right? Cyprus needs to reinvent itself now. What you knew changed, so our product was being very slow. You had the difficulty in achieving sales. Our US partner acquired another company from the UK, which had a not as good product, but a product that was in the market. So it was easier to continue selling that than promote our tool. So it was difficult. We started independent sales activities, but it was like going back to kindergarten. We didn't know how to do any of that. We had a limited success, but then we got an opportunity. And the opportunity was that as the company, our partner was needing more people to implement, and as we started finding sources for available resources, because it was one thing for, let's say, software engineers and so forth, but it was a completely different story for engineers, like chemical engineers and so forth, and some people in this room have been around with me for a very long time. So we diversified and we formed the first services group that was going to deliver services to this American partner for delivering projects. That worked. So it was the beginning of the reinvention. It was a good move. So effectively in 98 and 99, we shifted from being a software development company into a services company. Two entirely different things. So in one case where we were actually doing and delivering with a tool and expected someone else to do the work and build, we knew how to do the work, so we actually started doing the work for somebody else, and that led to a big growth. Early success and achievement, then that led to the formation of a supply chain management division to deliver planning and scheduling in process manufacturers worldwide. And at this point, still growing, it was all back office. So even if it was front office, let's say at the customer, when we were going to the customer, we used to carry our principals, which is the partner, business card. So we would go and say, yes, I am Hyperion, but here I am, let's say, AspenTech, or I am something else. So it was, in a way, contracting, in some other ways, subcontracting, but we were building experience in this whole process. That went, and then in 2000, we had the second reinvention. And that basically was the success of the company, and you will see in a while, still at very low levels, attracted the interest of the stock exchange bubble at that time. We were the only company not trying to either go public or go and raise funding or do any of that stuff. We were happy in our own little ecosystem. But it worked that there was an interest. It was a good proposition. In the meantime, we grew into areas like APC, Advanced Process Control, ERP, we did an SAP activity, and basically with funding that we got, we actually performed our first acquisition in 2000, which was Apollo Human Solutions, an HR company. Why Apollo? Because at the time, we became the biggest and single almost customer, because we were doing so much hiring, and they were doing so much work for us, that we decided to internalize them rather than have them externally. So today, still we have Apollo. It does some recruitment job for, let's say, for customers in Cyprus, but mainly it also acts, let's say, as in the internal HR division of Hyperion. And by 2000, we passed through the 100 employee point, right? So started in 91 trying to find funding. 93 December secured funding for me and maybe there was another one came in March, and then we started having accounts. It was 3 people and so forth, and then 9 years later we were 100 people. Okay. So then it starts a different path. So from 2001, you can't stand still. The world changes, the environment changes, you need to change, you need to move on. In our business, there is a saying that says, if you don't grow, you die. You shrink, you die. And it's just simply, it sounds very bad, but what this means is that if you're not growing, and you're in a good business, and the business is growing, then your competitors are taking market share. And in the end, you become insignificant, and then no one wants to work with you, and then you die. So you need to look at what you're going to do continuously. So, expanded in Greece, because by that time, by 2001, we had a number of Greek engineers, and we started having people, and then they wanted to go back home, so we started our first expansion to Greece was driven by 3 things. It was driven by the availability of chemical engineering talent in Greece in more abundance than there was in Cyprus. By the desire of some of our senior engineers by that time, there were people that were with the company for 5-6 years that wanted to go back to Greece. And what we thought was a market opportunity. So the two worked, the market opportunity, it took another 5 years, I think, for maybe a bit longer, another 10 years to materialize. Having done the first step and bold step to Greece, which was done on our initiative, we found an opportunity and we opened in Bahrain in 2002. Then in 2003, we opened in Moscow, so we have 10 years anniversary of our Moscow office this year, and of India. So we opened in India. What happened in India is different. Each case is different. So in Bahrain, it was driven by the opportunity and a contract, so there was something that was valid. In Russia, there was the belief in the opportunity. The market was just beginning to mature. The process industries were modernizing. There was a gap. There was an opportunity. It was an adventure. In India, it was different because there was another company in India that was in our area that effectively was closing down the section of our area. This was a big let's say, thousands of people, Indian conglomerate company that had one small section that was doing things that we were doing. And they closed that section. So suddenly about 15 people with experience in our field were becoming unemployed. Right? So we went and hired them all, put them in a different office and started Hyperion India. Then in 2003, so 2003 was a very significant year for us. We acquired Bronner Metal Solutions in the UK and expanded into steel and aluminum. Up until this time, we were in hydrocarbons, chemicals, refining, and so forth. Bronner is a fully owned subsidiary of Hyperion and is the world's is either number 1 or number 2 in supply chain applications in the global steel market. So, like in Brazil, we're number 1. In Russia, maybe number 2. It depends on the country, the market segmentation. Hyperion ventures out as independent. Until this time, a lot of our revenue was coming from subcontracting, or from contracting, as we discussed before. So in 2005, where we had another change in the company, we went out to the market and we said, basically, you used to know us as the people behind the scenes doing the work. We'd like to talk to you now about ourselves as an independent company. And everywhere we went, they said, well, we know Dimitris, we know Yannis, we know Yorgos, we know all the different people. So, yes, we know who you are, we know who you really are, and the market accepted us and gave us opportunities to prove ourselves, right? You always have to prove yourself. So, in that case, in 2005, we did that. Lubref is in Saudi Arabia. And then between 2006 and 2008, we actually became an entity in the global market of process systems engineering. So it's a niche area, it's a niche market, not very, very, very big, maybe $2 billion in terms of the whole total application of software and so forth. In our case, it's very, very little. But if you talk, for example, about operator training, then Hyperion is there with Honeywell and is there with Invensys and so forth. If you talk about supply chain, we're there. So we have become a real entity in this space. So 2008 to 2012, 2008 we opened our own office in Saudi Arabia. This was effectively Saudi Arabia relaxed some of the rules and allowed 100% ownership of companies by foreigners, and that we took that and we set up the company. But then, as our business and revenue was coming from the Gulf markets, at a time where Cyprus was oblivious to the crisis, Hyperion became one of the first Cyprus companies, Cypriot companies, to suffer from the global economic crisis. In 2009 and 2010 were particularly challenging. And when I say challenging, for 6 months, from December 2008 till May 2009, right? We did not have one single order for $100 anywhere in the world, with 170 people staff. Okay. So I got some of my gray hairs there. So, however, first in, first out, 2011 marks the return of Hyperion to pre-crisis levels, right? Net profitability, complemented by significant project wins in steel and aluminum, as well as hydrocarbons. And then we returned to growth in 2012, right? With recruitment, and we also continue investing in our people, with investors in people, accreditation, and so forth. 2012, also we incorporated our first real entity in the United States, where basically it's going to have a power orientation. So in a review I had today, we have about 15 people signed on board to provide a specialist advisory service for the power generation industries, and it will be based out of our Orlando offices. Now, what helped us survive the crisis was the fact that we were ready to make the difficult decisions soon. So the moment we saw the problem coming, right, because we always run 3 to 6 months ahead. So we have forecasts and we have business plans. You have plans to come out of your ears, basically, right? And we haven't perfected the art of it, but we're getting better. So, but we saw the problem coming, right? So that meant that we had to ensure that we had enough cash reserves to survive it, that we had to take difficult decisions about letting some people go, right? Painful as it is. I mean, you have to worry about the business and the majority of the people, and not about individuals. Individuals, in the whole sense of things, lose their character. It's cruel to think, but sometimes you have to think in numbers. When you think in numbers, then Symeon and George and Stavros and so forth are nice names. You can go and have a beer and they might hate you for the rest of their lives, but you've saved another 150 people. So we took all the decisions, reduced salaries, and we had a lot of objections here in Cyprus because our government was going around saying Cyprus will never be bothered by the economic crisis. We have a stronger economy than Germany. If you're having a problem, it's because you don't know how to run your business. Right? If you're foreseeing a problem, it's because you're weak and incapable of handling the growth and prosperity that is abundant in Cyprus. This was the environment. Okay. So, where we are today, a few points. So we work in hydrocarbons and chemicals, steel and aluminum manufacturing. We provide specialized software, technology solutions, consulting, and advisory services to process manufacturers around the world. And we help our customers reduce costs, operating costs, supply chain costs, improve safety, and improve, let's say, this profitability. We work using a core team of experts, so we are the inverse of a traditional software company. A traditional software company has technology at the core. We use technology as an enabler, so we deliver technology-based solutions. So software is, let's say, the enabler for us to deliver the solution. So the value is in the industry domain knowledge, where we can formulate a solution, our global capability for delivering the solution, and the ability to use different technologies that will allow us to do that. Our customers, it's a who's who in both steel and hydrocarbons. From ExxonMobil to Rosneft to Gazprom, Shell, Linde, Borouge in Abu Dhabi, Saudi Aramco, and Tata Steel, ThyssenKrupp, ArcelorMittal. We have customers everywhere. Japan, Brazil, South Africa, everywhere in the Gulf, the Arabian Gulf, the United States, Europe, Russia, the Ukraine. I mean, the reach is there. So, and these are not tier 2 companies. These are like real number 1, tier 1 companies. It's important because when we talk about Cyprus, you have to remember, this is a Cypriot company, right? So, it's possible. You just need to think and believe that it is possible. So, what's our vision? To be the trusted advisor. Why it's important in this sense? This sense is almost every other year, or every couple of years, we work on our vision to reevaluate, is this what we want to do? And is this where we want to go? And what do we think? So, our vision is to be the trusted advisor, partner, and preferred provider of process systems engineering solutions and advisory services to process manufacturers. Okay? This is going to change now with the introduction of power, because power is not really a process manufacturer. So our next reincarnation of the vision will be something different, to encompass a different thing. This, you will see how this is then translated in the following slides into, so what do we do? What's our mission? So why are we there? We are there to deliver significant business value to our customers worldwide. So we're a global company, right? Through the effective design, selection, and deployment of best-in-class solutions and technologies, right? Some sort of a generic nature, enabling them to reduce operating supply chain costs, improve safety, and increase overall profitability, always cognizant of environmental impact. right? All these things together make a big difference, and being able to talk about the total solution about this puts you in a completely different level with customer executives. So, what are we? We're a medium-sized, independent, globally operating process systems engineering company providing solutions, consulting, and advisory. We're a group of companies. The mother company is the Cypriot company. It owns all the other companies below. So there's one in the UK, there's one in Russia, there's one in Greece, there's in Saudi Arabia, in Bahrain, in India, in China. We have a wholly owned foreign investment company in Shanghai. In the United States, I mentioned the Orlando office, and we have a presence in Singapore. Singapore is an example of what you do in a crisis. We actually retain the office, but have no people. Because in 2008, 2009, when we had to decide where we're going to focus our limited resources in times of trouble, we decided that Singapore can wait. Just there is waiting until we revive it. We employ highly qualified permanent staff with many with postgraduate qualifications and considerable industrial experience, wide experience in processes. We have extensive network of strategic consultants. You can't employ everybody. So you need relationships. You need people, whether they're from academia, whether they are, let's say, in contractors, independent. You bring people that can increase the ability to meet capacity. Because if you get a big project and you don't have enough people, then you can bring in contractors, just like what we used to be when we started, right? As well as domain and specialized expertise constraints. We're partners with leading companies, and we have all sorts of business certifications, investors in people, TRACE, ISO, and so on. We said design, select, deploy, optimize. We started with Hyperion being here. If you remember a little bit the history, the first thing we did was started basically a process simulation and optimization division. Then we started a supply chain division. This has now been shaped through customers, so through a pull mode. So the customers, so we're not simply a point solution company anymore. We are a company that can help customers define what they need through strategic opportunity assessments, through front-end engineering and design, benefit, let's say technology readiness and benefit assessment studies. We can then help them manage the implementation of a program through project management or project management office or PM, project management consulting, whether it's of a point solution or, let's say, of a whole program. We can get involved in delivering point solutions. So we built, let's say, training simulators. We just delivered a training simulator for the largest ethylene plant in India, built by Linde, a German company. It was done in Strovolos Avenue in the basement, and then we moved it on the second floor. So it's real. So we can deliver on an integrated plant or enterprise-wise program basis, individual point solutions, and we can use different technologies. We said for us, technology is an enabling factor. It is not a limiting factor that we will only deliver with the solution that we have. And then, once you design, implement, you need to ensure that you continue delivering value. So, right now, for example, we just got an order today to do an audit review of the planning, the supply chain for refining modules that Rosneft is using in Russia. So, our team will go and see and do an analysis and evaluation, etc., and come up with recommendations. Those recommendations might probably end up to some new definition, and that might need to end up in this. So basically some implementation. Doesn't mean that by doing this we'll get any of the other stuff, but we have the ability, and it's one of our differentiators, that we can do the whole thing. So today we have 170 people, engineering, business, mathematics, science, humanities, half with degrees and half, let's say almost half with postgraduate. And they're spread in different countries in the world. I mentioned we have subsidiaries, the subsidiary companies, but you'll see, for example, in Brazil, we have 10 people. We don't have a company, but because we have continuous recurring, repeat business with the Brazil steel industry, we have a team, permanent team of 10 people delivering work in Brazil. And this is what it looks like in terms of reinventions, money, and so forth. This is early days. It was the days when we would get a $10,000 contract and we would be celebrating for a week, right? 97, if you had a big scale, you could see that there's a slump. It actually goes down, so we had to reinvent ourselves, and we did that, right? So we changed, we became services. 2000, there's a jump, has to do with also the funding and the growth that we received with the capital restructuring. 2003 was the big expansion. The India, the Russia, the broader acquisition. 2004 was consolidation. 2005, our US partner ended up in trouble. So we had, it was a choice of they will either pull us down with their problems or have a new reinvention. We changed, we went out to the market by ourselves, continued to grow, and then the world came and hit us. It was like running in a field and someone taking a baseball bat to your knees and going, whack. So we had a 30% almost reduction in terms of bookings and so forth. So with the effect of the crisis. 2012, we're back. So it took time to do the recovery, right? And not only we're back, but we're back with better KPIs. KPIs being key performance indicators. For us is profitability, gross profit, cash, and so forth. So this period, yes, we went back into a similar growth pattern we had before, but more mature, better prepared to handle things. And where at this point and this point, where the numbers are similar in terms of revenue, bottom lines are entirely different. So, what are factors contributing to success? Solid and effective management. In our case, it was the ability to take decisions, whether to change, whether to reinvent, what to adopt. I mentioned ERP, for example. It was an exercise that went horribly wrong. We spent money, we invested, we became an SAP partner at the time. It did not work, we stopped it. We lost money, but we took the hit. Formation and management of professional relationships. You are not isolated. No one is isolated. You work with people in your environment, whether it's banks, whether it's lawyers, whether it's partners, whether it's technology providers. You always, relationships is a very, very big factor in success. And actually, relationships is one of the most successful paths towards sales. Again, in the crisis in 2009, what actually helped us survive was our good relationships with some key customers that, while they would not give us any purchase orders, continued with some of the projects we had to execute, and they kept paying us. So we had income, we didn't have, let's say, new sales, but we had revenues. In every business, people is superfluous to talk about the value of people. No business can survive without its people. So they're most important, and for us that is an asset-driven company, let's say services-driven, is basically a peoples-driven company. Our people perform well, the company does well. Our people are willing to put up with the difficult times, because there's always difficult times, and anyone who tells you otherwise is lying, then you get through the difficult times. Agility. Agility is the ability to change, to move, to be flexible. And credibility is an odd one to be in this list. And because it's an odd one to define what credibility is, but in this case it's credibility to your customers, wherever those customers are and whatever it means to them. Whether it is meeting milestones, whether it's, let's say, over-delivering a little bit from what you have promised, whether it's facing them with the problems early on and not giving them any surprises so they know what you're talking is true. And that puts you to continuity. So here is a nice one that says there are no secrets to success. Don't waste time looking for them. Success is the result of perfection, hard work, learning from failure, loyalty to those for whom you work, and persistence. This is from Colin Powell. Military, but everything applies. Coming to Cyprus. So, the corporate environment is collapsing. Businesses are closing. There is lack of money. There's a decline in jobs. Unemployment is increasing. People's morality is low. What can I do? Should I emigrate? Should I not emigrate? Am I going to find a job? Should I accept a 75% reduction in my salary in order to ensure? Should I work for free for the next 5 years until the recovery is there, so at least in 5 years I have a job? I mean, it's amazing what you hear in, so we have a spiral. The whole society is into a spiral. So mainly, our environment has put us in a way to think that we can't do anything. Everyone is telling us what to do. It's the troika, it's the government, it's the management, it's the banks. So who are we? We're paralyzed. We can't do anything. So, about startups, coming back to the startups. Cyprus venture capitalists are unable to take a position in advanced technology ventures. This is the general public view, different than 91. In 91, we thought there is, but there wasn't, right? Here we think, do they still exist? Is there anybody out there? Right? Well, there is, but is there anyone interested? It's a different question. Is local financing available on the basis of guarantees? Can you today go to the bank and say, here I have a building like the Senate House here, and I will mortgage it, give me, let's say, a loan. They won't give it to you, right? So if you can prove that you do not need the money, then will they even consider giving it to you today, right? Government supported infrastructure not available to support advanced technology startups. We had a minister in Cyprus who actually made a statement that Cyprus is not for R&D. Cyprus should not be wasting its time to do R&D. I mean, this is real. This is what it is. After all, is there anything of worth? I mean, how can anybody in Cyprus come up with anything that is interested, even remotely, for anybody outside of Cyprus? And why would anybody in Cyprus buy anything from anyone in Cyprus when they can buy something cheaper and better from abroad? Is Cyprus too small? I mean, it is, right? But that is not, it's too small as a market to sustain a growing and thriving business. It's not too small in terms of resources and availability and environment to build something to grow. Can we export knowledge-based products? I mean, people think we're a strange thing here in Cyprus, that we exist in Cyprus, we have presence abroad. I'm glad to say there's other companies that do the same or similar, maybe not at the same scale because they were not willing to go the full length, and we were driven to this extrovert nature because of the lack of market for us, so we have to go where the market is, and the market is just not in Cyprus, right? So what's an alternative reality in Cyprus? Cyprus businesses, entrepreneurs have started looking at markets outside of Cyprus, okay? Because I'm known as a business that we have presence in different places, A number of people come to talk to me that they want to take their business, whether it is selling lighting, whether it's doing construction, whether it's a software business that has been in Cyprus serving Cyprus and have a capability and now they want to go outside, whether it's consulting. We were in the passport office the other day, and our mechanical engineer, who was fixing, let's say, the mechanical engineering in my house, effectively 27 with his wife, they were getting their passports, moving 3 years in Dubai. He said 3 years and who knows how much more. Prospects for boosting economy from the exploitation of our natural resources are significant. We will not know what will hit us. If there is a natural gas, right? There's the confirmation well that is going to come in June, July. If it is successful, if it's not successful, it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. Even though in Cyprus, a non-successful confirmation well will lead to a panic, right? But it's not the end of the world. They just have to drill somewhere else to find it, right? But all indications is that it will be successful. And then all indications are that by the end of the year, they will drill for oil. And there is good evidence in seismic data and so forth to support the fact that there is actually oil. Now, if oil is discovered in Cyprus, it's a game changer. You don't need to worry about LNG plants, you don't need about this. You take it out, put it in a ship, and you sell it. So it is a game changer. Now, the prospects from this for the economy is for everything. It's a new industry. It will affect everything from catering to accommodation to hospitality to IT to legal to accounting to transportation. Everything will be affected, right? We as a government, as a people, I know here in the university now they're going to start a master's course and they're looking about developing, let's say, the chemical engineering. We need to be prepared. We need to act now for the future, right? So our graduates in 5-6 years should be able to be absorbed by this new industry. If we wait to act in 5-6 years, it will all be expats. There will be expatriate people coming here to Cyprus to work. There's an abundance of innovative ideas coming out of the universities. I'd say and other research centers. The breakthroughs, however commercially viable they are, is a secondary question. That's a business question. But the breakthroughs from the Cyprus Institute of Neurology and Genetics, right, are significant, are world-changing. We need the environment to be able to take those ideas, right, before they are spread like academic research and they're basically copied by everybody, to find an environment to channel them into something that will create wealth, right? The use of the word wealth is not a bad word, right? Business is not a bad word. Profit is not a bad word, despite what we've been made to believe recently. So, entrepreneurial ecosystem is developing. So, what we have? So the reality today. There's new startups, right? People come to talk to me about some of them. There's programs for business innovation. Here at the university, there is a Cyprus entrepreneurship competition. You can submit your business plan. There's business incubators. Okay, maybe not very healthy right now because the funding from the government was withdrawn, but maybe it will come back. Entrepreneurship help desks, research centers, research universities, world-class research results, youth and women-focused entrepreneurship programs, EU funding. You get millions of euros of funding here in the University of Cyprus. There's international funds available. They are available. It needs 2-3 different things. It is an algebraic equation. You have a checklist. It is not personal, it is not cultural, it is not national, it's nothing. It is a checklist. It means, do you meet this KPI, this KPI, this KPI, this KPI? okay, done. You don't meet it by 1%, you're out. It's a cutthroat business. They're there in order to fund businesses that they hope will survive, but it's available. And Cyprus is in the EU, and it is available, and you can get it. It's not easy, but you can get it. There's a culture change which is in progress. You have the Open Coffee Cyprus, Hack Cyprus, Startup, Grind Cyprus. I mean, all these are initiatives, right? Very different than what it was in 91. Very different than what it is in 91. It's there. It's for people to take advantage of it. So, plugging a little bit here for the Hyenis. The Hyenis is one of the incubators that belongs here to the University of Cyprus. It's a University of Cyprus function. It started, and it does provide, it's just, I'm using it as an example here of where you could even go to get help and get ideas without any commitments, and let's say, I'm sure without any cost until it comes to a point that actually happens. But what you need to do is you need to take that first step. You need to go and say, I have an idea. Is this possible? Can this happen? Right? If you don't, no one is going to come to find you, because the main thing, and even if they come to find you, you will not be enthusiastic, you will not be willing to make any sacrifices, and you will not be willing to go the whole length, and you will not have any sign of persistence or perseverance. So it's a no-go. It's a waste of time. So what can you do? Put your ideas into action. Is there a market for it? Do your research. You have to make your research. There's no point in thinking something is great if you don't validate that somebody is willing to pay for it. I mean, you want to do it for your own satisfaction, that's one thing. But in order to make a business out of it, right, you need to prove that someone is going to pay some money for it. And it's difficult to get people to pay. So, are you committed and driven to make it work? Are you prepared to do what it takes? You need to define your strategy and get started. And there is help. You don't have to do it by yourself. Okay? So don't wait. I mean, there are things. In these announcements, there are things. I mean, we need as a people, we need as a country, we need as a society to encourage entrepreneurship, to encourage new ideas, to encourage innovation. Why can we do this when we're outside of Cyprus, and we don't think it's possible to do inside? So there's different things. I mean, if you look at it, and there's mailing lists, and there's newsletters trying to encourage. The take-up is not very high. We're still very, very much kept behind by our own prejudice. I guess I will go through a few last slides, and then we can have a discussion. You know, no one says it's going to be easy. There will be days that you want to quit. It all starts with yourself. If you cannot convince others that you cannot see yourself succeeding, or if you cannot see your companies or your product being successful out there, you first need to believe in the capabilities and the potential. And ideas that sit without being, there's no point in saying, oh, I thought about that 10 years ago, and someone came and did it now, and he was successful. Yeah, but he did it. You didn't. I mean, you know, it's not. So what? You can write a book, and maybe someone will write it, and then take it and implement it. Business is not clear. This is my pencil story. Right? Your proposal is innovative. Unfortunately, we won't be able to use it because we've never tried something like this before. Typical reaction, typical response. There will be days that you want to quit. Don't. Look at the frog. It's being swallowed, but it's straddling the bird. Who do you think is going to give up first? Oops. It all starts with you. You have the patience, the strength, and the passion to achieve your ambitions, your goals, and your dreams. All you need to do now is try. Okay? A little bit of a rude one. Ideas without, we're told, good things come to those who wait. Well, in business, good things come to those who work their asses off and never give up. Success will not come to you because you're just waiting. It just doesn't work like that. I will persist until I succeed. Impossible, this is an Olympic athlete, impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change. Here in Cyprus, we need to change, right? Impossible is not a fact, it's an opinion. Impossible is not a declaration, it's a dare. Impossible is potential, impossible is temporal. If you think about what was there as ideas 50 years ago, I mean, if you thought that your phone, if you talk to anybody, I have a different picture, I decided to be a little bit economical in them, that talks about a 1950s photo from the Rand Corporation that has a setup of a home computer. It's as big as this room, right? And it cannot do a millionth of what your phone can do today. And if you told anybody 50 years ago that your phone will be able to do that, they would probably lock you up. Right? Don't be afraid of failures. You know, this is a very interesting one. Albert Einstein, he wasn't able to speak until he was almost 4 years old, and his teacher said he would never amount to much. Okay. Steve Jobs, at 30 years old, he was left devastated and depressed after being unceremoniously removed from the company he started. Walt Disney is a funnier one. Walt Disney says he was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination. The Walt Disney Company is called Imagination. Oprah Winfrey was demoted from her job as a news anchor because she wasn't fit for television. Okay? She's the most successful TV anchor person in the world. Never give up on your dreams. And the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, it's imagination. And what is imagination? Different definitions, but is the application of knowledge into something. And this is the final one by Robin Sharma. I said earlier today that average is not good enough anymore. Everyone can be average. Average, everyone is going to be better than you. So risk more than is required, learn more than is normal, be strong, show courage, breathe, excel, love, lead, speak your truth, live your values, laugh, cry, innovate, simplify, adore mastery, release mediocrity. Aim for genius, stay humble, be kinder than expected, deliver more than is needed, exude passion, shatter your limits, transcend your fears, inspire others by your bigness, dream big but start small, act now, don't stop, change the world. This is what we need today. And with this, it's time for questions, if you have any. Well,
what's your secret of choosing the right people?
There's no secret. Well, there's no one recipe for every position, but basically, you have. I'll twist it a little bit around. You always have to try to hire someone that is better than you, right? People usually fear hiring people that are better than them, right? In management, if you are able to manage people that are better than you, by definition, you become better. So, we always try to find people that are the best, have best abilities, and that they fit for the job. There is no point in getting somebody to do a specific job if they don't have the ability. The ability might be technical, might be interpersonal, might be a whole range of different things. Communications, might be willingness to go an extra length. So it's not an on-off switch, yes or no and whatever. So we go through interview processes, but we do screening. So what does Hyperion do? Hyperion says we get, let's say, 100 CVs a month. We look at those 100 CVs and we say, okay, well, first of all, we look at what are the needs. We say we need these jobs, let's say, right? Out of these applicants, is anyone fit for any of these jobs? We make a short list, then the HR group starts communicating with the people. Once they pass the first stage, then we bring them in. In some divisions, they give them a test. If it's a strictly technical skill ability, then they give them tests. Get references, but always personality is an important thing because they need to fit or be willing to adapt with the culture of the organization.
There are personality tests that they can apply. There are personality tests that you can apply.
There are personality tests, and occasionally we use them, and occasionally, but then, how you say, we try to, we hired many people, and basically we try to get the best people that we can at a particular time. And sometimes, if we get a really excellent candidate, but there is no fit, we really try to think about how we can use this person, because it builds the asset of the company, right? So.
Addition or dealing with internal politics? Because in a big company you have the, work like a government sometimes.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and the answer is different at different stages of the company's development, right? After 20 years, internal company politics to management are insignificant. Management company politics become more significant, but you come to a maturity of thinking that you need to address the problems and solve the problems and so forth. Competition is challenging. It's not bad. You learn from the competition. You need to respect your competition, right? Because you learn a lot of things from them. And there are more frustrating things, like that have to do with collections, with payments, with effectively the most difficult things is being able to meet your obligations as a company and an employer and so forth to your customers and to your people rather than anything else, right? So competition is healthy. If it wasn't competition, we wouldn't be successful. We just need to be better than everybody else to succeed. And if you strive to create a good and healthy work environment, the company internal politics tend to disappear.
They say that in every crisis there are big opportunities. And I would like to know, in your point of view, what are the opportunities that we can see in Cyprus in this, coming out from this crisis?
It's true that in every crisis there are opportunities, right? So the question here has many different angles. You can have the angle of what is a potential, right? So you could think a potential is that if there is such a dramatic reduction of the bank employment, right? So we're talking about 1,000 or 2,000 people from the banks, right? So suddenly you will have an abundance of expertise that is going to be unemployed, right? What can someone do with that? Can you put a consulting group together? Can you go and offer services and experiences to maybe less developed countries? Let's say you don't necessarily need to go to do it in Germany, maybe you can go and do it to Fiji. Maybe you can go and do it somewhere else. So that's a tangible, let's say, business opportunity that some people could think and take and develop. The collapse of the real estate market is an opportunity. I mean, do you think that the real estate in Cyprus will remain at the levels that it is today when the natural gas is confirmed and when they hit and drill for oil and people will be emigrating here to the point that, let's say, will probably become 50% Cypriots and 50% expatriates? Where are all these people going to stay? It's a longer term view, so maybe 10 or 20 years. The loss of dependence in the government environment, the government sector, and the healthy degree of uncertainty in your work environment and permanence should drive to people to be more innovative, more productive, more different things. It should. Will it be possible? I don't know. It needs the environment, it needs the companies, it needs... So there are a lot of opportunities in many different things. And it's clear that we're talking about the reinvention of the country, which is necessary, right? And those who actually take the leadership in this have a better chance, clearly, than those that won't. Okay? It is no promise for success. I mean, failing, a good entrepreneur in a way is one that can fail and start again, and the second time they do it better. And then they fail and they start again. The third time they do it better. But in the meantime, in the journey, they learn good things, and when successful, we go to the first slide. They do better than everybody else. Right? Because at least they have the satisfaction of creation, right? And they have the potential for wealth generation. And it is satisfying to have created something and employ people and give opportunities and so forth. So it's many opportunities. It's just thinking about what is possible. I'll give you an example from Hyperion. I've been involved here in different business meetings, etc., with different people in different groups. So criticism about, oh, the government will not do much, what is the government going to do, etc. So there's a plan that says employ unemployed graduates, and the government will subsidize it for 500 euros for 6 months, I don't know specific, right? For others, it's a nuisance. For others, it's a waste of time. For others, it's not good enough. We had a meeting and decided it's an opportunity. Why? Because we can bring young people whom we would normally not employ, right? Because they would have to go through the interviews, the this, the that, etc., to fit a particular thing. But we'll get 10 people maybe from different disciplines. We'll get 5 chemical engineers, 3 HR, 2 in accounts, and so forth. And maybe something will come out of this. You create a cluster, you give them the right environment to come up with ideas. We've been doing it for 20 years. It doesn't mean that we should be doing everything the same way. We need new ideas. New ideas come from younger people. So younger people have a difficulty in finding employment because everyone prefers to hire experience. So this is actually an opportunity for industries or companies to bring in young talent and basically be infused by even some new ideas or new breath of fresh air. So it's not that, yes, natural gas is an opportunity. We're doing the academies. Star Wars can later talk to those that were interested to train, let's say, professional people that have some degree and understand some things about natural gas. Again, we're doing that because we think there is something that is coming, and our interest is to capture the opportunity. If we don't, it will be taken by others. So there's no limit in terms of what is the opportunity. If indeed it's true that they're going to give more money for research and supporting of small to medium enterprises now as the counter for the mess they have created, let's say, from the European Union, right? It's only going to be there, but someone needs to go and get it, right? And in order to get it, you need to convince people you have an idea and you're willing to do it. You're not going to do that from the comfort of your sofa, thinking that someone else is going to run it, and someone else is going to, you're going to employ a young graduate who's going to run this business. They will not be credible to do that, right? Young teams that have new, young ideas could probably be successful and get the fund. There's no recipe. It's, you know, if you sit down, some people can never come up with ideas. They can do implementation. Some other people can write ideas endlessly. It's teamwork. And today, we have what? I think the youth unemployment now is 25%. 30. Yeah. All these people are people with ideas.
You've shown a timeline of your growth in the company, and from 2008 to 2012, you showed about the same amount of growth of income. But you mentioned that KPI value is different. So was that a result of restructuring or a smarter business plan, or?
Yeah, restructuring, cost savings, because when a company grows, you end up having a lot of fat. Huh? And then basically if you're in a way brave enough, when the crisis hits, you start saying, okay, well, what I don't need, or what can I do different? And then you find different things. And if you have the discipline to keep those going forward, and the business comes, and you improve productivity, but in the meantime have reduced your cost, when you reach the same point, you will be better off.
How do you think that the existing human resource in Cyprus, in terms of engineers, professionals, can manage to take some of this opportunity that will come with natural gas and petroleum, and not remain just indirectly benefited from that?
And a complementary question to that, is there an opportunity to retrain people, engineers, or other people in this field, or have others related to it?
Your question is simpler in the sense that, or I'll take a more general look for both maybe questions. What is coming, okay, is different. Is something that will affect every level. I think CETA, there is this product, the radios, whatever it's called, radios, that they're actually putting for telecommunication, fiber optic cable to connect all the possible wells that are going to come. And with all this investment, let's say, they're going to make Cyprus into the telecommunication hubs for the region. Right? I didn't know that until I met the two gentlemen managers from Orlando that are running this project for the American company with CETA. It is something that is happening. Why I'm saying that? That is impact in telecommunications engineers from the natural gas. So there is no limit about what is going to happen. You'll need pilots, you'll need underwater engineers, you'll need divers, you will need, let's say, maintenance people, you will need telecommunications. You will need to maintain the lines from the platforms to the shore. Because if anything, they will need disaster recovery centers for all their data. You will need safety engineers, you will need civil. Civil engineers, we know how to build these buildings. Who knows how to project manage or get involved in developing, let's say, a platform, or working on a platform? You will need operators on the platforms. So it's a new industry, it's a new world that is fully encompassing. It is not what we hear, let's say, it's natural gas, so it's going to be a pipeline, and that pipeline is going to take the gas to Basilicon. There will be an energy plant, and it will employ 100 people. And these 100 people, that's a potential for employment. But who's going to build a $10 billion plant? The investment is 10 billion, and 2 billion to build the pipeline, 12 billion to be spent over the next 5 years. If you translate that in man-hours and skill sets and professions, we don't have enough. It's just the vision to be able to capture the opportunity, and the opportunity is not isolated. Universities should start thinking, for example, how to drive research for that. I mean, all the seismic data now are being sent to Houston for analysis because the companies don't know that you have a supercomputing center in the Cyprus Institute here that actually has the computing power to do this work. Why? Because we don't think we can serve anybody whose name is Total or whose name is Eni, because we are in Cyprus. But if you were working in France, who cares if you're from Cyprus or not? So if you can do the job there, and the infrastructure is here to do the job here, why can't we do it? This is the Hyperion story.
And I totally agree with you. That's why I mentioned the retraining, because you mentioned universities forecasting this need and getting new graduates that are going to fulfill the requirements for working in this industry. But like you said, the opportunities are endless. So how can an engineer that's been in the industry for 7 or 8 years readjust to
there will be many different things. It will be an evolving process. So Frederick has a master's now for, let's say, retraining people to give them some exposure in oil and gas. The University of Cyprus is starting. The PAC is starting. We as Hyperion are starting the Hyperion Academy, which has to do with professional training. It's not, it takes someone who has a degree and try to see, and we don't know the answers to everything, so we're partnering with other organizations that do this abroad in order to be able to provide this service. Why we want to have a business? Is our business going to come from the academy? No, we're not going to become an academic institution or whatever, but we will ensure, and a lot of our people eventually will be going through it, to have the skills to be able for Hyperion to take a position as a services organization for this new industry.
From what I gathered, one of the biggest challenges that Hyperion had when you originally started, there was no market for the services you were offering. You see parallels with people interested in setting up an online and internet company that doesn't have the market here in Cyprus and expanding abroad?
Well, I travel about 40% of my time. Okay. People in my company travel some more, some less. If you're prepared to go where the business is, where you're based doesn't really make much of a difference. So if you expect that the business will come to you, then you have no chance. Right? So I have a friend, a Cypriot, who has a registered company in Virginia, in the States. He has a Virginia telephone number, which is a Skype telephone number in Virginia. He spends 6 months of his time here, uses contractors from any part of the world, and does work exclusively for American companies that think they're hiring a Virginia company. And when they require a meeting, they have a Skype teleconference, and occasionally they meet. But he goes to sell to them because he needs the relationship. So you need to go where your market is, where you actually produce. I think here is better. I mean, the weather is better, the environment is better, it's safer. I mean, it's a great place to work. Your business is not here, but if you were in the States, it doesn't mean that your business will be in Boston. Your business might be in California, your business might be in Canada, your business might be in Mexico. Here in Cyprus, we have become too self-centered, looking at what is actually happening within the island.
So when and if you are going to hire a young engineer, so what are the key points you look on the CV or?
Well, it depends on it's, let's say, dedication to the job, right? Loyalty, performance. You know, someone who changes jobs every 6 months and has a pattern, he'll come to you for 6 months and you go somewhere else. It's like 9 out of 10 statistically proven, right? So you need to have a fit. So it's both the personality. Sometimes we do exceptions. So for example, we might get a very capable technical person who can't speak to save his life. They're so introvert, they can't, but they will solve all problems. Problem with that is that that's a specific type of person, but the only thing that they will be able to do is grow to be an expert in a certain area. They can never manage people, they can never think how it's very clear. There's other people that are not very good technically, might be average technically, but they have a leadership quality. That means that you get them, they learn the job, they're willing to make decisions, they take responsibilities. A lot of people don't want to take responsibilities. So if you find someone who's serious, capable, smart, and willing to take responsibilities, he's an asset for them. So it's not black and white.
Yes, but I mean, I was wondering how can you recognize from the CV? It's not easy.
That is why preparing your CV is very important.
Well, this is why I'm the question.
So, preparing your CV is very important so that you try to give your, it doesn't have to be 100 pages, it shouldn't be half a page. If it's half a page, it means you don't have anything to do, right? Unless your half page says, I developed the Intel processor.
Certainly needs a reference.
So, but if you are making a CV, put the time and effort. It is not a 1 hour job. It is not a 1 day job. It's at least a week's time effort, and you need to go and talk to people. Show it to people and say, what do you think of this? Right? And people will generally, because people like to criticize, will tell you, you should do this. But don't be offended if they tell you to change something. And don't do it because someone is telling you. You need to exercise judgment.
Up to your early stage, when you were starting, were you alone and if you were not, how did you find your team?
I was alone in Cyprus. My wife was with me, and she was patient to help me with the accounts in the beginning. And but basically you start through, I had spent 2 years as a consultant. I had met different people. I started formulating an opinion, hired some people that worked, hired some people that didn't work. The first guy I fired, I couldn't sleep for 1 night. It was a traumatic experience. There was good reason for it, so it became less of a problem. Early on, you start learning how to take decisions. It's better, right? And what I did to counterbalance the lack of a team was find mentors. Right? So I would go and talk with mentors, financial people, legal people, technology people, friends of mine that were, let's say, in companies or in companies abroad, professors at MIT or Imperial that we were friends, or people that got jobs there afterwards that I knew, and I would go and ask and do the interaction forcefully, the one that I would normally do, you would normally do in a team, I had to do in a wider environment. But But it's not a limitation if you really think you have something and you're prepared to do it. Because if you do, you will find people that will be willing to join your team. If you don't, no one will follow.
I'm wondering, where did you get the confidence to start the company?
I'm arrogant.
But do you think that university helped you to get the confidence?
The culture of my university, well, yes and no. It goes from before because my history is more varied than that. My first business was when I was 17, and I had a band in Cyprus. I was in heavy metal, long hair, and I was also managing the business of the band. So getting sponsorship, representing the equipment, issuing the tickets, distributing the profits, getting advertisement. So I got interested. Why? Because I had a passion for the music. Why? Because without that component, I could not go and rent or Diana Destler at the time to have a concert in Nicosia. Right? So I had to find a way to get the money and make it successful, because if I went to my parents and asked for the money because it was failed, okay, they'll do it once. I don't know if they're going to do it the second time. So it was something that worked, and for 3 or 4 times a year we were able to do this. So you start learning different things. The universities, yes, the culture of the universities is important. That basically my alma mater, the MIT, the idea was basically that what I said, you can be the best in what you do. So you can be the best technical person, if that's what you choose to do. If you want and you work hard enough, I mean, I remember in our inauguration, commencement, it was the head of Dell that said, they will tell you, many will tell you to go and become accountants and lawyers and so forth. Well, if you have really belief in what you're doing and you're like me, then I can tell you, you will have so many accountants as lawyers working for you that you will not even remember their names. It's a culture. It's a culture. And I think here in Cyprus, we somehow need to break a culture that has been forced upon us that we need to be average. We are not average. We should not be average. We should be above average and excel. Average is not good enough. And average will not take us out of the crisis.
The last question. You said Diana Destler. What is Diana Destler?
You have more white hair. I ask your...
He's young as well.
It's quite different.
I would like to thank also Geo's Research Center of the Hyperion Systems and Networks for organizing the event with us. Let's go down to the lobby to have a beer and continue discussion.